Hello there you guys, welcome to another of my live videos, and today I'm just be officially updating you on some more current transfer rumours and gossip, giving you the latest news and what players are linked with Manchester United, because we do know there's a lot of players on Manchester United's agenda, but the latest player to be linked with a move to Old Trafford is Leicester City's James Maddison. Now, there was a lot of news circulating around the media about this yesterday, saying that we have identified him as a priority target, and reportedly it does say Manchester United have made initial contact with James Maddison and his representatives over the potential move to Old Trafford this summer. So reportedly the quoted fee is around £60 million that Leicester want for him. I think Manchester United are more than happy to pay that £60 million that Leicester are demanding for James Maddison. But I do believe it would be fantastic if he was to come to Manchester United. James Maddison, according to reports yesterday, it does say we are emerged as the front runners, to currently get the player's signature. It also does say that City have been in for him, Liverpool have been in for him, and Tottenham have been in for him, and I think it does say they have tracked James Maddison, since he was a teenager at Coventry. This is what it basically says. But I think from his own perspective, he does prefer the move to Manchester United, does James Maddison. So he would perfectly fit Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's transfer strategy, because obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, wants to buy young players this summer. And James Maddison is only 22 years of age. I think he's British as well. So obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has emphasised an interest in quite a few British players. He's enjoyed a very productive first season in the Premier League with Leicester. Last season, scored 7 goals, I think provided 7 assists and created more opportunities than any other player. So I do think it would be a great addition to our squad if he was to come in. I think Leicester bought him last summer from Norwich for around £20 million, because he did have a couple of seasons in the Championship with Norwich, and I think he had a stellar campaign in the Championship. I think he's got a 5-year contract with Leicester, so he's under contract with Leicester until 2023. Yes, he did initially begin his career with Coventry. I think he also had a loan spell with Coventry. I think he also had a loan spell in Scotland with Aberdeen, but reportedly now he is the latest player to be linked with a move to Manchester United. No bid has been put in as yet, but if Leicester were to get around £60 million for James Maddison, obviously they'd gain a £40 million profit, because like I said, Leicester paid £20 million for him from Norwich last summer. But I do really like him indeed. He is an attacking midfielder. He has got a hell of a lot of development in him, but he can score goals, he can provide, he's really good at creating chances, as he did demonstrate throughout the course of last season. So obviously at some point in his career anyway, James Maddison will want to take his footballing career to the next level. Maybe James Maddison may have reservations about joining Manchester United, because obviously we haven't got Champions League football for next season, but I think he's actually been a Manchester United fan since he was a child. But I think from his own perspective he prefers the move to Old Trafford. So there was a lot of talks going on about James Maddison yesterday. But we do know Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is looking to bring at least 5 new additions to the club, and obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is working on trying to keep his imperative players at the club. He's also working on trying to bring the right players to Manchester United who he thinks are going to be good enough to represent Manchester United. But he wants to bring players in who he thinks have got that work ethic and that physicality, and I think James Maddison would be fantastic. And he also wants to bring players in who he thinks are going to fit the culture of the club and the history of the club, because obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is looking to buy into our history. We are getting a spending spree of around £250 million, so that should be enough for us to get at least 5 players on the board, depending on how we are with our recruitment this summer, because quite a few people have said we should be sensible with our recruitment this summer, because there is a lot of players on our agenda that are available for a reasonable figure. So a lot of people have said we should be sensible with our recruitment, but like I said, £250 million to spend. It's obviously going to mount up to a lot more than that if we can cash in for the likes of Lukaku, Pogba and De Gea. Obviously it's going to be a lot more than £250 million. We are expected to get a summer clear out. I think probably about 3 or 4 players are going to leave Manchester United this summer. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer still believes we can attract players to the highest level. He was saying this towards the back end of last season, even though we're not in a Champions League football for next season. He's not intending on bringing any short-term players to the club, of course, because he just wants to bring young players in, does Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He was saying towards the back end of last season that he had been contacted by a number of agents, saying that their players do want to come to Manchester Manchester United. But I do believe in the next couple of seasons, without a shadow of a doubt, that our aspirations is going to be that top four. I do believe probably our expectations going on into next season is probably to finish in the top four, maybe win the Carabao Cup, maybe in the Europa League. I've heard some people saying that, if we can get the right players to Manchester United this summer, they do believe we can win the league next season, but that's definitely not going to happen, because I think we're a number of years off from mounting any kind of a title challenge up. Obviously, we do know at the moment Manchester City are strides ahead of us, Liverpool are strides ahead of us, and it's very imperative, that we catch up with the likes of City and Liverpool, of course. But we do know Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is still in the process of rebuilding, because obviously looking at it, none of this squad is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's. I know a lot of money has been spent at Manchester United, over the years since Ferguson retired. We've had different managers with different philosophies, but I think like £700 million has been spent. But obviously, the majority of that money is obviously being spent on the wrong players, with the wrong mentality. Players have come in, players have gone, and obviously the majority of them haven't fitted the culture or the history of the club. So we have got to get the right recruitment this summer, and that's very, very essential. And we do know the likes of probably City are going to invest this summer, even though they have spent a lot of money under Guardiola. Liverpool are probably going to invest this summer, even though they had the great window last summer. Did Liverpool probably they're going to spend this summer. Chelsea may spend, depending what happens with their transfer ban, whether it gets overturned on that. But I do know at the moment that Chelsea can't do any transfer activity in the next couple of windows. Arsenal, they've got problems like Manchester United. It's going to be hard for Arsenal, to have a competitive summer transfer window, because obviously, they're not in Champions League football for next season. But we do know at the moment, there's problems at Manchester United, there's cultural problems in that. It's obviously very essential that we get a director of footballing before the start of next season. That's the structural change that we do need at the club. Obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to need backing. So like I said about James Maddison, I think he'd be a great addition to Manchester United if he was, to come in. Obviously, as well as I updated you earlier on of what's going on with Paul Pogba. Now, reports were coming out with the media yesterday saying that Juventus are interested in re-signing Paul Pogba. Now, potentially it does say, according to Sky Sports, that Juventus have made initial contact with his agent Raiola. I think this is actually stemming from Damasio, who's a very reliable Italian journalist, especially when it's in relation to Manchester United. He basically said that Juventus have made initial contact. He says Juventus have made initial contact with Manchester United. Obviously, no bid has been put through yet, but I don't think Juventus are going to be able to get him on a straight cash payment. I think if Juventus have got any chance of getting him, they've got to offload a couple of their players, to fund the move for Paul Pogba, because I don't think Juventus can afford to get Paul Pogba, outright, of course. But I think maybe Paul Pogba, would be open, to I think Paul Pogba, would be open to making the return to Turin, because he did have 4 good years in Turin, before he did make the return to Manchester United. Obviously, in his 4 years in Turin, he exceeded expectation levels. Obviously, won 4 Serie A's. He won 4 Serie A's on the trot, I think it was as well. I think he also won 2 Coppa Italians in his 4 years with Juventus, but he hasn't really, replicated this form at Manchester United. He did come out towards the back end of last week, saying that Juventus offered Manchester United Paul Dybala, who's obviously been a Manchester United target, and Alexandro as part of the deal to lure Paul Pogba away from Manchester United. So obviously no bid has been put in as yet, but Juventus are interested in re-signing Paul Pogba. We do potentially know Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is doing everything to try and convince Paul Pogba to remain at the football club, because it came out the other week saying that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was willing to offer Paul Pogba the captaincy in a bid to convince Paul Pogba to remain at the football club, but obviously this isn't going to be enough to convince him to stay. Obviously Paul Pogba's still got 3 years left on his contract with Manchester United, and obviously he's our most expensive player, because obviously we know we paid £89 million to him back in 2016. But we do know it's been looking likely that he's probably going to end up making the move to Real Madrid. Like I said, there is a possibility chance now that Paul Pogba could remain at the football club, based on the huge transfer fee we've put on him. I think we want around £160 million to him, and obviously this is a figure that Real Madrid of course are reluctant to meet. But we do know Zinedine Zidane, like I said, has got a lot of targets on his agenda. Obviously his 2 main targets of course are Paul Pogba and Chelsea's Eden Hazard. Zinedine Zidane has instructed his Real Madrid board, to prioritise a transfer for Paul Pogba. But I think now, looking at it, Real Madrid have come up, they've orchestrated something out of Real Madrid now, to try and lure Paul Pogba away from Manchester United. I don't think Florentino Perez is keen. I don't think Florentino Perez is keen on the straight cash payment, of course, because Real Madrid are not willing to pay up to the £160 million to him. So it did come out from a lot of Spanish outlets, was it the other week, if I'm right? Yes, it was the other week, saying that, Paul Pogba to Real Madrid is practically done. It did say Paul Pogba agreed a massive pay cut, so it did say his salary was set to reduce from £13 million to £10 million a year. So he did say his wages were set to drop by around £3 million a year, and I think he was happy, taking the pay cut. Obviously, no initial fee has come to an agreement. It did say they were still in negotiations about a fee. But like I said, Paul Pogba, we had him when he was younger. Like I said, under the Alex Ferguson era, we had Paul Pogba when he was younger. Obviously, we got him from Lee Harvey. I think he had a couple of years in the youth system with Manchester United, and then he went on to make a couple of first team appearances, but based on limited appearances under Alex Ferguson, obviously, we let Paul Pogba go on a free transfer, and obviously, then he went and had 4 good years in Turin with Juventus. But anyway, I think now Real Madrid are willing to offer up to 3 of their players, to lure Paul Pogba away from Manchester United. So as I've been updating you about this on a regular basis, I think it's been coming out in the last couple of days, Real Madrid are willing to offer up to 3 of their players, to get Paul Pogba. So obviously the names that have been mentioned is obviously, Bale, James Rodriguez and Keylor Navas. So they are the 3 players that have been mentioned. But like I said, I don't want to see Gareth Bale as part of the deal because I think he's too inconsistent now. He's been inconsistent in his last couple of seasons with Real Madrid as Gareth Bale. Like I said, I think the couple of main factor reasons why I don't want him at Manchester United: too injury prone, plus he's aging up. He's 29, he's nearly 30 years of age now, as Gareth Bale. But, to credit Gareth Bale, his ratio is still very, very good with Real Madrid, even though he is injury prone. I think he scored about 102 goals in 231 games, so that is very, very impressive. But Zinedine Zidane doesn't want Gareth Bale at Real Madrid, and Zinedine Zidane and Florentino Perez want to flog him off. But I think from Bale's perspective, he wants to remain with Real Madrid. He's intending on spending the rest of his career with Real Madrid. But Zinedine Zidane, did declare that Gareth Bale has no future at Real Madrid, and he also declared that he's no longer part of his plans with Real Madrid. So obviously Bale's the most obvious one who could be part of the deal with Paul Pogba. But I think the vast majority of Manchester United fans, would not like to see Bale as part of the deal with Paul Pogba. Bale plays on the left; he can also play on the right. He has still got 3 years left on his contract with Real Madrid. But discarding Gareth Bale being part of any swap deal, discarding him being part of any swap deal, it's going to be hard for Real Madrid to get rid of him permanently, based on his substantial wages he's on and all that. Many teams won't be able to afford Gareth Bale, maybe a couple, but I don't think many will be able to, based on his substantial wages. I think he's on about £600,000 a week, is Gareth Bale, isn't it, with Real Madrid, if I'm right. Don't get me wrong, he did have 6 good years with Tottenham, when he was younger, so he's obviously had a lot of experience playing in the Premier League, when he was younger. But I don't want him at Manchester United now. If you'd asked me a couple of years ago, I probably, would have took Gareth Bale at Manchester United. But there has been talk saying that he could be a part of the deal. I think in his 6 years with Real Madrid, he's won about 13 major honours, including 4 Champions League. Obviously, Real Madrid lost Ronaldo last summer, of course. Obviously, he served 9 years. With Real Madrid did Cristiano Ronaldo. Obviously Juventus got him last summer, and obviously Real Madrid didn't get the adequate replacement for him, so obviously it was Bale's job to step up to the plate. Obviously he didn't do that, so obviously Real Madrid wanted to get rid of him, and I think Real Madrid have wanted to get rid of him for the past couple of years, because obviously they're reflecting on his poor run of performances. But yeah, I don't want him at Manchester United. He's too injury prone, and plus he's injury prone, and I think he's on the decline, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. I know James Rodriguez has been mentioned. I don't think James Rodriguez would be bad for Manchester United. I know he hasn't played in the Premier League. I don't think he has anywhere. Obviously, he's 27, nearly 28 years of age, still got a lot of development in him, James Rodriguez. He's Colombian. I think he's expected to return back to Real Madrid, he's James Rodriguez, because obviously, he's been on a 2-year loan spell with Bayern Munich, of course. Haven't really watched much of James Rodriguez, to be quite honest with you, lately. Obviously, can play as an attacking midfielder, can also play as a winner. I think Manchester United also inquired about James Rodriguez's services a couple of years ago. I think also Arsenal inquired about getting him on loan back in January. But yeah, I think he's still on loan at Bayern Munich at the moment. But reportedly Real Madrid are willing to offer James Rodriguez as part of the deal to get Paul Pogba. Also, as you all know, Keylor Navas got mentioned. We'd probably see Keylor Navas as an actual replacement for David De Gea. Whether Keylor Navas would be the right replacement for David De Gea or not, I do not know. Also, Isco got mentioned as well, saying that he could be also a part of the deal. Don't get me wrong, I really, really like Isco a lot. I think he's a really, really good player. I think he's primarily an attacking midfielder now, is Isco. I think when he was younger, he played in various other positions, and I think he still can, but I think he primarily plays as attacking midfielder. He is 27 years of age, Isco is he? Or is he 28 years of age? So he has still got a lot of development in him. And don't get me wrong, he is a good player, but I just don't see how he would fit Manchester United's system, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. So this is the main factor reason why I wouldn't want him at Manchester United. Obviously, he has been subjected to quite a lot of transfer speculation as Isco. Obviously, reflecting on last season, the majority of his appearances, came on the bench, especially under Santiago Solari. So he was surplus to requirements last season with Real Madrid, was Isco. He has spent the entirety of his career in Spain. Obviously, he's been at Real Madrid 6 years now, as Isco. I think Real Madrid paid around £27 million for Malaga. I think he's played about 277 games for Real Madrid. I think he's under contract with them until 2022, is Isco. But like I said, discarding Isco being part of any swap deal, he's going to cost you probably over £100 million. But I just don't think he'd fit Manchester United's system. If he was to go to Manchester City, I probably think he would fit their system, with Isco. But, he has done really, really well the number of years he has been with Real Madrid. He has won a number of honours, including 4 Champions Leagues. But Real Madrid may want to, may think about offloading him, to make some room in their midfield. To obviously get the likes of Christian Eriksen in there and Paul Pogba in there. Because obviously, Christian Eriksen is also a Real Madrid target. So yeah, and obviously Paul Pogba was subjected to a lot of transfer speculation last year based on his poor relationship with Jose Mourinho, and obviously last year he was linked to his former club Juventus. I think there was talks of him going to Barcelona last year, so obviously he had a poor relationship with Jose Mourinho. Paul Pogba got one of his best wishes when Jose Mourinho of course left the club, so Paul Pogba could be leaving, Paul Pogba could be staying, so I still think it remains it's not fully certain yet if he's going to be leaving or not. But now obviously Juventus, or obviously if they've got any chance of getting in, they're going to have to offload a couple of their players because they can't afford Paul Pogba outright. So they're going to have to offload a couple of their players to fund the move. Whether Manchester United are willing to go along with this or not, I do not know. Now obviously Real Madrid have come up with a plan to offer up to 3 of their players to get Paul Pogba. But if Paul Pogba leaves, I still think he'll end up going to Real Madrid in my opinion. Other players I've been giving you an update on as well on a regular basis. Of course, it's Adrien Rabiot from PSG. Now, it's very imminent he's going to be leaving PSG this summer. It does remain uncertain where Adrien Rabiot will be applying his trade next season. I think recent reports have said that from Adrien Rabiot's perspective, his preferred destination is Liverpool. I don't think Liverpool are in for him. No, I think a lot of people have got reservations about Adrien Rabiot's attitude and all that. I think a lot of people said he's got a really, really bad attitude. To be quite fair, I don't really know much about Adrien Rabiot, but I do know a lot of reports were coming out from Spain last week, including Mundo Deportivo, saying that Manchester United were emerged as the front runners for the player's signature, and it did say Manchester United have offered him a contract, a lucrative contract, worth around £170,000 a week, plus a sign-on fee included, and I think the sign-on fee of around £10 million included. I think this is a year, so obviously that equates to around £170,000 a week, but reportedly he does want to make the move to Liverpool. Adrien Rabiot is 24 years of age. He is a central midfielder. I think he can play in other positions, but I think primarily a central midfielder. I think it says Tottenham have inquired about his services. Juventus have inquired about his services. I think it also said Everton have held negotiations, but I don't think Adrien Rabiot would want to go to Everton because obviously Everton haven't got a European football. Obviously came out last week saying that Real Betis had inquired about his services. Obviously, Arsenal are in there for him. So Manchester United and Arsenal have made initial contact. Maybe Umran is keen on reuniting with Adrien Rabiot because obviously Adrien Rabiot, was actually found himself more of a regular under Umran May, and I think he flourished under Umran May's guidance to Adrien Rabiot, but since Umran May's left, I think Adrien Rabiot has found himself surplus to requirements. Obviously, Adrien Rabiot hasn't played for PSG since December of last year, because obviously Thomas Tuchel had withdrawn him from the PSG squad based on his refusal to sign a new contract. But the beneficial thing about this is obviously no team would have to pay any transfer fee for Adrien Rabiot because he's coming to an end of his contract, so you can get him on the free. Obviously, spent the majority of his career with PSG. He has been there 8 years. I think he's made over 200 appearances in all competitions. I think he's won 5 League One titles, 18 major honours, including 5 League One titles. I think had a spell with Manchester City when he was younger, Adrien Rabiot, so he's had experience of playing in Manchester. So there is a number of clubs that are in there for him, but a lot of people have got strong reservations about Adrien Rabiot. But he has still got a lot of years ahead of him. He's only 24 years of age, so there has been a lot of talks going on about him. So I think a few teams have initially pulled out of the race anyway, based on his salary demands and his current, signing on fee. I think this is why Barcelona opted out of the race for Adrien Rabiot. So There has been a lot of talks about him going on. Also, the latest news about Bruno Fernandes, as I've been giving you an update on a regular basis. I think it does say Manchester United want to finalise the deal for Bruno Fernandes sometime this week. I think we're set to get a winning deal worth around £70 million. It's something like that. So basically, we are willing to offer more than Manchester City. Obviously, according to Ebola, the Portuguese press, they have said now we are emerged as the front runners to get the player's signature. Bruno Fernandes is only 24 years of age, so he has still got a lot of development in him. Obviously hasn't played in the Premier League yet, but I do believe he would exceed expectation levels in the Premier League. Definitely, with Bruno Fernandes, because he's got all the capabilities and all the attributes to succeed in the Premier League. Obviously, he's got his initial lease clause is around £86 million. Obviously, Manchester City and Manchester United are reluctant, to meet his £86 million release clause. But I think City are only willing to offer up to around £40 million to him. Like I said, City, he did say City willing to offer a couple of their players as part of the deal. Bruno Fernandes is under contract with Sporting Lisbon until 2023. Until 2023. I think he had a lot. Yes, he used to play for Sampdoria and underneath, so he had a lot of experience in playing in Italy, when he was younger. And he has been at Sporting Lisbon a couple of seasons, and he has exceeded expectation levels. But it did come out the other week. He came out. He gave us an update on his future and all that. Did Bruno Fernandes, and he did, basically say that he's unsure about his future. He doesn't know if he'll be spending the third year with Sporting Lisbon, but he did say he's had a good couple of years, with Sporting Lisbon. But he is aware of the speculation, but he has denied having any negotiation with Manchester United over the potential move to Old Trafford. Bruno Fernandes came out and also admitted that he does like Liverpool, of course, but I think he's going to be on his way to Manchester United. So it is being Manchester United and Manchester City that have been battling out for his services. He's primarily an attacking midfielder, so we'd actually see him as an adequate replacement for Paul Pogba. But obviously now we're in for James Maddison. Who would you choose out of James Maddison and Bruno Fernandes? Well, I really like Bruno Fernandes. I'd probably choose James Maddison because James Maddison's Premier League proven. Obviously, James Maddison's 2 years younger than Bruno Fernandes because James Maddison's 22, Bruno Fernandes is 24. But yeah, it would be James Maddison, but I still really like Bruno Fernandes because Bruno Fernandes has got goals in him, he's got assists in him, and he would add depth in our midfield. But yeah, reportedly now we are emerged as the front runners to get the players' signatures off. So I think we're set to get him in a deal worth around £70 million. So it will be looking likely he will be playing his trade in the Premier League next season, but he will definitely take his footballing career to the next level without a shadow of a doubt. We do know it is Manchester United and Manchester City that are in for Joe Felix as well. I think obviously Benfica blatantly made it clear that if they are willing to sell Joe Felix, obviously Manchester United or Manchester City have got to trigger his buyout clause. And I think Man United and Manchester City are willing to trigger Joe Felix's buyout clause. His buyout clause is around £105 million in his deal with Benfica. Obviously, Manchester United have been scouting him since January. Also, he's been on Manchester City's agenda for quite some time. Obviously, reflecting on his impressive performances throughout the course of last season. Last season was only his first season in the senior squad with Benfica, and he did really well. He's yet to make his senior debut for Portugal. He's only 19 years of age, and I think Joe Felix, can become, he can emulate into one of the best players in the world. Maybe not emulating to Ronaldo, or Messi, or Neymar, but I do believe he can emulate into one of the best. Like I said, primarily an attacking midfielder, can also play as a winner, can also play as a striker and a secondary striker. So very versatile indeed. But yeah, it's going to cost you over £100 million. I think from Joe Felix's perspective, he's aware of the speculation, but I think, he's unsure about his future at the moment. But at some point in his career anywhere, he'll want to take his footballing career to the next level. I think Liverpool had a bid turned down for him in January. I think also Real Madrid have inquired about his services. So there's been quite a few teams in there for Joe Felix. But yeah, he's tied it up in Portugal really well. Also, Bruno Fernandes has tied it up in Portugal really well. So that's the latest news about Joe Felix. As I've been giving you an update on a regular basis about Thomas Meunier from PSG. Obviously, it's been Manchester United and Arsenal that have inquired about his services because I really like Thomas Meunier and he's available for a reasonable figure. Obviously, it's Manchester United, like I said, and Arsenal that have inquired about his services. Manchester United have made initial contact. Arsenal have made initial contact. Obviously, he's predominantly a right back, and obviously Manchester United need a right back. I think we need a replacement for Valencia because obviously Valencia is set to leave the club after serving 10 years at Manchester United. It remains uncertain where his next destination is going to be. We need an upgrade to Ashley Young, and we need a cover up for Diego Dalot. And I do believe that Thomas Meunier, would be the right solution. Like I said, predominantly right back, can play in other positions. He's got goals in him, he's got assists in him. But I think according to recent reports, Thomas Meunier's preferred destination is Manchester United, because I think it got revealed he has been a Manchester United fan, since he was a youngster. Don't get him wrong, a lot of this, could be a stemming for his agent, or maybe some of the media, just justifying their existence on this story and that. But I think actually, Thomas Meunier has been a Manchester United fan, since he was a child. But we do know Arsenal have inquired about his services, because maybe Umran may be keen on reuniting with the player, because actually Meunier was more of a regular starter at PSG when Umran was there. But since Umran has left PSG, Thomas Meunier has found himself surplus to requirements. But Meunier is 27 years of age, so he's a highly experienced fullback. He's never played in the Premier League, obviously. He's been at PSG over 3 years. Well, about 3 years or just over. I think he's made about 101 appearances in all competitions. I think PSG paid around £5 million to him from Club Brugge back in 2016. But I do believe he would be the right solution for Manchester United, and I do really, really like him a lot. I think he's only got a year left on his contract with Paris Saint-Germain. It did say that he's set to join Manchester United in a deal with around £22 million. Well, initially, PSG wanted from between 22 to 25 million pounds for his services. So according to recent reports, he's looking very imminent. He's set to come to Manchester United. Is Thomas Meunier. So probably Arsenal are set to miss out on him. Are set to miss out on him as well. But looking at it, we've identified an interesting quite a few right backs, but looking at it, ultimately, Thomas Meunier is going to substantially cost us a lot less than Aaron Wan-Bissaka, because obviously he's been one of the right backs we've been interested in. We do know Aaron Wan-Bissaka is one of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's prime targets, and I like Aaron Wan-Bissaka a lot, and I still believe he's on Manchester United's agenda, but I think we have now prioritised Thomas Meunier over him, because obviously he's a much cheaper alternative. Obviously a lot more experienced than Aaron Wan-Bissaka, but Aaron Wan-Bissaka is proven in the Premier League. He's regarded as one of the best right-backs in the Premier League. Obviously only been in Crystal Palace's senior squad about 15 months. I think he's gone on to make 40 senior appearances. He has got 3 years left on his contract with Crystal Palace. So far has spent the entirety of his career with Crystal Palace. Initially was a winner when he was younger, but as he was developing in that, obviously, Crystal Palace, rotated him as a right back. So yeah, I really, really like Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I think his defensive capabilities are very, very good. It came out the other week saying that we had submitted a bid of around £25 million to him, but obviously £25 million isn't going to be enough, to convince Crystal Palace to let him go, because they want around £60 or £70 million reportedly, and Manchester United are reluctant to pay £60 or £70 million for Aaron Wan-Bissaka. So looking at it, Thomas Meunier is a much cheaper alternative. So yeah, according to recent reports, looking likely Thomas Meunier is coming in. Obviously, as I've been giving you an update on a regular basis as well about Matthias de Ligt from Ajax. Nothing much more is updated about him. He's come out and admitted that he's got several options on the table. We do know Aaron Wan-Bissaka has been widely spoken about throughout the course of this window, and a lot of teams have inquired about his services. He did say he's set to inform Manchester United about a decision on his future in the coming days, as he was saying. I think he did say yesterday he's close to making a final decision on his future. It is looking very imminent. He's going to be leaving Ajax. It still remains uncertain where he will be applying his trade next season. Obviously, he is a central defender, very, very young, only 19 years of age. Obviously, got a lot of years ahead of him. And obviously, now I think we've identified him as our number one priority target, Matthias de Ligt. It's still some reports are speculating saying that Barcelona are emerging as the front runners to get him. Even though it did come out last week saying that talks had stalled, between Matthias de Ligt and Barcelona, because obviously, they couldn't come to an agreement on the terms. They couldn't come to an agreement on the terms and all that. And it did basically said that Barcelona are not willing to meet what de Ligt's demanding and what his agent Raiola is demanding. But we do know, at least in the last couple of months, that Barcelona have been in the ascendancy of getting a deal over the line for him. It only came out from Sky Sports the other week, and they said that he's set to join Barcelona. And I think from his own perspective, he wanted to make the move to Barcelona, did Matthias de Ligt. Obviously, Barcelona have already got a deal over the line for his current teammate, Frankie de Jong. Obviously, Barcelona got him for around £65 million. But Louis van Gaal came out in the press, was it a day or two ago, and he's basically urged Matthias de Ligt, to turn down Manchester United and make a move to Manchester City, because Manchester City have been in for him. Obviously, Manchester City are looking for a replacement for Vincent Kompany in their back line. But I really, really like Matthias de Ligt. Obviously, PSG have inquired about his services. Bayern Munich have also inquired about his services. I think it came out in the media yesterday saying that Juventus have put a bid in for him of around £75 million. But, you know, like I said, it came out also the other week saying that Manchester United had ruled out a move for Matthias de Ligt. He said we've withdrawn our interest, you know, based on his because I think it was actually like we was really convinced that he was set to join Barcelona. But I do believe there's a lot of credibility in these stories about Matthias de Ligt. But I think he'd address our defensive deficiencies fantastically well. Him coming to the Premier League, it would take his footballing career to the next level. In terms of the transfer fees, Matthias de Ligt's probably going to cost you from between £70 to £75 million, because obviously this is what he's initially rated at. But it did say Manchester United have offered him a contract worth up to £350,000 a week. And that's obviously, from Matthias de Ligt's perspective, a contract that is too good to turn down. £350,000 a week, that obviously equates to almost £17 million a year. And obviously, you know, if this was to process, this would make Matthias de Ligt one of the highest paid players at Manchester United. I think actually the second highest paid player at Manchester United behind Sanchez, and obviously, you know, make him the highest paid teenager in world football. So Manchester United can basically also assure him first team football if he comes. First team football would be much easier for him at Manchester United than it would be for him at Barcelona. So we'll basically see what happens, and obviously we're willing to meet what de Ligt's demanding and what his agent Raiola is demanding. So his future's still up in the air at the moment, so it isn't fully guaranteed yet where he will be applying his trade next season. Maybe a slight possibility chance he could remain loyal to Ajax and spend another season with them, but I don't see it happening. I think it's looking very imminent. He's going to be leaving Ajax. Obviously, I think he made his senior debut for Ajax at the age of 17. I think was named captain for them at 18 years of age. But he has become an integral part of their squad. I think he's made about 117 senior appearances for Ajax. I think he also won the Golden Boy Award last year. But like I said, I think we need two central defenders, because I said the likes of Smalling and Jones are not good enough. You know, Smalling's been here 9 years. You know, Phil Jones has been here 8 years, and it was a bad mistake for Manchester United, you know, giving them two new long-term contracts, of course. And yeah, I think we need two central defenders. You know, Lindelof's been very, very good. You know, he improved last season for Manchester United. Victor Lindelof, he was inconsistent. His first season didn't really fit. You know, he didn't really, you know, step up to the plate in his first season. You know, he struggled in his first season, but I think last season, you know, Lindelof was really, really good. You know, he was playing out from the back. His distribution that had improved. So I really, really was impressed. So I really, really was impressed there with Victor Lindelof. So I think we need someone that can partner alongside him, and I think Matthias de Ligt, you know, we're blending, you know, alongside Victor Lindelof in our backline, you know, really, really well. So we'll keep you up to date when more things update about Matthias de Ligt. As well, and I think, you know, the players that are probably going to leave Manchester United, in my opinion, of course, I think another problem with Manchester United, you know, we have let far too many players' contracts run down. Obviously, you know, Rashford's in the final year of his deal. Sorry, I said Lukaku by accident. Rashford's in the final year of his deal. Obviously, it's looking likely Juan Mata's going to leave, because obviously, you know, he's coming to an end of his contract because the club have failed to agree to contract extension for him. And obviously, you know, De Gea's in the final year of his deal. And it's looking like, you know, De Gea is going to be leaving the club. So yeah, we have let far too many players their contract run down. So it's likely De Gea is going to be going. It's likely Mata's going to be going. Probably Darmian and Rojo will go. Like I said, at an estimated guess, we can get from between 25 to 30 million pounds then, because I think Darmian and Rojo have enjoyed, you know, difficult times at Manchester United. I think probably Sanchez, you know, should be going, even though we can't get rid of Alexis Sanchez permanently, you know, based on his substantial wages. Obviously, he's on 400 grand a week, potentially rising up to 500 grand a week, you know, based on the image rights and the bonuses and all that. I haven't heard any more additional information about Sanchez lately. I updated you, I think, about a couple of weeks back about this, saying that you know, Sanchez's agent had been in Italy. It did say Juventus and Inter Milan have expressed their interest, and obviously, you know, they were in negotiations there with Alexis Sanchez's agent. Obviously, we need to get rid of Sanchez because he's one of the problematic players, and I think his wages are having a really, really bad effect on the football club. But he did have 4 good years with Arsenal before he came to Manchester United. He also played well under Pep Guardiola at Barcelona, but he obviously hasn't replicated this form at Manchester United. Sanchez has become injury prone as well since he's come to United. He has sustained a number of injuries. Like I said, he has no future at the club anyway. He's 30 years of age, and he has lost that yard of pace as Alexis Sanchez. So we definitely no need to get rid of him. Talking about Romelu Lukaku, there is actually a possibility chance now he could actually, you know, remain at the football club, even though it has been looking very likely he's going to leave Manchester United this summer, because obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer told him he's served his 2 requirements. Obviously Manchester United told him last week that he can leave, but I think, you know, based now on, you know, obviously Lukaku's move to Inter Milan could be under threat, based on these financial fair play rules, due to the financial fair play rules. So Inter Milan, for them to keep their move alive for Lukaku, they've reportedly got to raise around £40 million before the 30th of June, to meet financial fair play regulations. So if they don't raise £40 million before the 30th of June, their move for Lukaku will end up, coming out to a conclusion. So I think that could be the stumbling block of Lukaku making his move to Inter Milan. Obviously, the huge transfer fee that was put on Lukaku could be the stumbling block of making his move to Inter Milan. Because reports came out last week saying that the quoted fee was around £80 million that we wanted. So basically, we're looking to recoup the majority of the money that we did pay for him from Everton back in 2017. So basically, it said everything else had been agreed, though. It said Inter Milan had agreed the personal terms with him. It said Inter Milan had agreed a 5-year deal with Romelu Lukaku. It also said Inter Milan are willing to meet his wage demands, and it did all. It says everything else has been agreed, but obviously, they haven't come to an agreement on an initial fee, and that is the problem. They haven't come to an agreement on an initial fee, so I think Inter Milan are going to be reluctant to pay up to £80 million for him. Potentially Antonio Conte is obviously now Inter Milan's manager, and he's identified Romelu Lukaku as his number one target. So maybe if Inter Milan have got any chance of getting him, maybe they may have to offload one of their players as part of the deal. Obviously, Inter Milan willing to offer £30 million plus Perisic as part of the deal, but obviously Manchester United are not going along with this because obviously Ivan Perisic is no longer a Manchester United target. Obviously, Icardi has been spoken about as part of the deal with Lukaku, but Solskjaer's not keen on Icardi because Inter Milan want to get rid of Icardi. Like I said, and also too, I think if we were willing to let Lukaku go as part of any swap deal, we are demanding Inter Milan's Milan Skriniar, because obviously, he's been a long-term target for Manchester United. But like I said, Lukaku served his two requirements at the club. Maybe Manchester United, still think he's worth between £70 to £80 million, because obviously he's 26, he's in his prime, he's still got a lot of development in him. But, I think we need to get rid of Lukaku because I've got strong reservations about him. His footballing ability, he doesn't rise up to the occasion against the big teams. His first touch concerns me and all that. He doesn't have that endless potential, so we definitely need to get rid of Romelu Lukaku. He has still got 3 years left in his contract with the club. Obviously, he's on about £250,000 a week. He's Romelu Lukaku. But yeah, credit Lukaku, his ratio still very good in the Premier League. He has scored a lot of goals in the Premier League, and his pedigree is very, very good in the Premier League. But he enjoyed the difficult second season with Manchester United. Lukaku found himself served his two requirements because we know mainly that Marcus Rashford had been first choice ahead of him. So Lukaku could still possibly, remain at the football club. Like I said, we know Valencia's going. Yeah, I think, like I said, I think De Gea is going to be going. Probably Juan Mata is going to be going as well. I also think we need a centre defensive midfielder. We need a holding midfielder because, like I said, at the moment, Scott McTominay is too inexperienced. Even though Scott McTominay towards the back end of last season demonstrated, that he can play between the lines and that he can play well, but I think he's too inexperienced. Fellaini left back in January, and of course, Nemanja Matic is too inconsistent. I've got reservations about him. He's too ineffective in that midfield, and he's plus he's aging up. So I think we need a holding midfielder. And there's been quite a few holding midfielders on our agenda, as you all know. Obviously, Declan Rice from West Ham's been spoken about, and I like Declan Rice a lot. He's well Premier League proven, and this year learnt his trade in the Premier League and has exceeded expectation levels with West Ham fantastically well, and did well under Manuel Pellegrini last season. And he's got a contract with West Ham till 2024. I think Manchester United are still in for him. Obviously, I think he's going to cost you probably around £50 million, is Declan Rice. So I think he's primarily defensive midfielder. Can play as a centre back, but I think he's primarily a defensive midfielder, is Declan Rice. So he's been one of the defensive midfielders that Man United have been in for. Obviously, there was talks about Thomas Partey from Atletico Madrid the other week as well. Obviously, Idrissa Gueye has been on Manchester United's agenda for quite some time. Idrissa Gueye, you can't argue with Idrissa Gueye's stats. He's one of the most successful tacklers in the Premier League. I think he's completed the most tackles, across Europe. Obviously, well Premier League proven. I think the quoted fee is around £35 million that Everton, do want for Idrissa Gueye. Obviously, so basically they're demanding over 5 times more than what they initially paid for him from Aston Villa 3 years ago. So obviously there has been talks of Idrissa Gueye. Still got 3 years left on his contract with Everton. But yeah, there's been quite a few holding midfielders that Manchester United have showed an interest in. And yeah, and that's mainly everything to update you on. Like I said, there's a lot of central defenders on Manchester United's agenda. I've already gone through them with you. Obviously, Matty Stillett's now the #1 target. Obviously, I've given you the updates about Harry Maguire. I don't think Manchester United will be now keen on making a move for Harry Maguire because obviously, Leicester are demanding they want around £90 million. Man United and Manchester City are in for him, but we have got the financial power to meet that £90 million valuation. But I don't think he's worth £90 million. Basically, Leicester want to keep him. Leicester know how much of an essential player he is, and basically Leicester have priced him out of the transfer market. Harry Maguire, don't get me wrong, I think he's a good central defender. He's proven in the Premier League now. He's been at Leicester a couple of seasons. Leicester paid around £17 million in there from Hull City. Obviously, he's under contract with Leicester till 2023. He signed a new long-term contract last summer with them. But yeah, I don't think Harry Maguire is worth £90 million. Obviously, giving you the latest news about Toby Alderweireld, I think we're set to make a decision sometime this week if we are willing to go in for Toby Alderweireld or not. But I don't think it's in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's plans to bring Toby Alderweireld in because he's not intending on bringing any short-term players to the club. Looking at it from a financial point of view, he's available for a reasonable figure, £25 million release clause, obviously. He's proven in the Premier League, I still think he'd be a great upgrade in our defence with Alderweireld, but he's definitely not going to be leaving Tottenham, I should presume, anywhere. So anyway, guys, drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do consider subscribe, as always, and take care, God bless, and I'll see you guys all again very, very soon. Thanks for watching.